Hello and welcome back to the Lapdown podcast. We're here to debrief Austria, where it's sort of a lot happened for a bit, and then it's as if they spent all their pennies at once in the first third of the race, and then the second two-thirds they sort of ran out of holiday money, so they had to just sit around by the pool. But my name's Alex, and the next voice you're going to hear is Dan. And Dan, how are you, and how was your Austrian Grand Prix?
I'm all right, and it's very similar to yours. The first, as you said, the first third, the first 15 laps was brilliant. Was some of the best racing that you could ever possibly wish to see that didn't involve McLarens driving into the back of one another. And we kind of had a precursor of it last time out, didn't we, in Canada? We got it for a bit longer this time in Austria. And then, yeah, it kind of went into... It almost went into a bit of a simulation after that. You know, we've joked a lot about George Russell and his ability to pick up third places without really being mentioned on the broadcast. Charles Leclerc has done that. Ooh. I haven't seen a red car on the broadcast of the Formula One Austrian Grand Prix, apart from the interior of Lewis Hamilton kind of saying, I want to stay out. No. But my tyres are fine. No. But I think I'm doing okay here. No. But I'd really like to... No. That's all I saw. I didn't see a Ferrari other than that. And Charles came third. So it was one of those Grand Prix. It was good. I don't know where it's going to sit on our kind of bangability tier list at the end of the season.
It's a very good point. Actually, it's a couple of very good points, because...
I try and make a couple. That's all. I've spent, similar to the Austrian Grand Prix, I've spent all of them.
Yeah, the next 28 minutes of this now could be all downhill.
Turn off.
Is that Ferrari's best weekend of the year? A third and fourth finish in the main bit of the Grand Prix? I can't think of a weekend where they would, like, total points would have come away more than that. I know that we've had some... Yeah, I feel like that's one of their better ones. And yeah, we didn't see them, hear from them. Actual George Russell, my boy this week, may well have not driven a lap for all I know. Like... I don't think they said George Russell on the broadcast at any point. I don't think I saw him on the broadcast at any point.
He nearly drove a lap, because he nearly, by all accounts, by Harry, whoever the commentator was this week, claimed that he was the one that drove into the side of Max Verstappen and assassinated him. So he was quite keen. He was quite enthusiastic, the chap on Sky Sports, to claim that it was George Russell that had made that contact with Max Verstappen. I think it was it was a bit thirsty, Harry. Right. I don't know if you're tuning in, but it was a bit thirsty. I think you wanted the George and Max drama on your first day at big boy school, and actually had to be corrected by Karun Chanduk quite quickly that it was Kimi Antonelli. So yeah, George was mentioned, but just wrongly.
Yes, wrongly. And we will get onto some Kimi stuff in a bit. Actually, we could probably roll onto some Kimi stuff now, to be honest, because... we talked about it in Canada. Incredible racecraft from the two McLarens. That's about all there is to say. That was probably 15 odd laps of near enough. I know it's not quite wheel to wheel, but like consistent applied pressure at a really high standard. One little mistake from Oscar that I think will come to a little bit later, but just good to see. It's just brilliant. Good to see. That car is silly as well. Like, I know the 3 DRS zones help keep you like nearby, but it was stuck to the back end of the other one, and it wasn't having to drop off, and they were telling Charles to lift and coast at the same time, and he wasn't near anyone. So
it was superb. It was genuinely some of the best that you could possibly wish to see. And it was, and I think for a lot of those 15 laps, I didn't know who was going to come out on top. I was thinking it was going to be Oscar, just because he sounds like... You're Australian, so you might be able to answer this. Are they known for assassins? Because I think Oscar Piastri possibly is from an assassin family, or at least has trained to be an assassin at some point, because he is so cold on those radio messages. Just gets the information come through and just goes, okay.
Yeah.
Whilst he's like going around a corner at 250 mile an hour, like hanging on with his butt cheeks and just going, that's fine. No emotion. Fair, I love it.
There may well be something to be said. Now, I don't know what Webber's radios used to be like. Webber predates me. But Danny Rick's radios, I mean, understood was his catchphrase, and that's generally all you got from him in reply, is they would tell him good news, bad news, just info, whatever, and you just get understood, full stop, and he'd crack on. So I don't know whether it is an Australian thing. It could just be coincidental. It's two drivers that we're talking about here. But he is, I think you touched on this a couple of weeks ago, worryingly cold and clinical, and there's some real serial killer shit about it. And yeah, I think It looked like, and I think this is always going to happen when it's a real hunt down shark in the water attack versus defense type thing, but it did look like that shark was probably going to eat a tourist at some point in that battle. You can sometimes see an attack being mounted and you think, I don't think you're going to get this done. Like, you're going to run out of tyres before the actual window opens.
You're not getting back to the beach before this great white shark takes a nibble at your little toe here.
But you just... And this is not being critical of Lando whatsoever. Lando drove perfectly. It was great stuff. But he did look very much at risk for all of it. And yeah, well done both of them for not hitting each other until they got out of the cars at the end. By the way, I don't know if you saw them crash in the.
No, I didn't actually.
As individuals, they both went to the weigh station at the same time. Big old helmets on. Just turned around and went boop. It's like, brilliant. Come on, lads. Come on.
Brilliant. Well, they'll have new ones next week anyway. They'll have special editions, so we won't worry about it. Lando will.
Right. Kimi Antonelli. I don't actually think there's necessarily a huge amount that we need to go through on this. I think it's probably up there, if not the tightest angle of hairpin on the calendar. I know that Monaco, we obviously go back on ourselves, but it's a bit more, it's a bit wider by the time we've gone 180. That one is, you're back around yourself pretty quick. Just kind of overcooked it. And it was a shame that he just overcooked it. Well, I say it was a shame. Depends who you're supporting. A shame that he kind of just overcooked it directly into the side of Max Verstappen.
Yeah, he got it wrong. He got out the car. He put his hands up. He apologized straight away. And I think diffused the situation, didn't he? By all accounts, our new guidelines that we're aware of probably will indicate that he might maybe get a grid penalty for the next weekend's
already got one. 3
Grand Prix.
He's down.
So he's already got one. So the guidelines do work. So that's good. That's a tick in the right box. And at the end of the day, he's learning, isn't he? He's figuring himself out. He's still only 13 years old. He's only just got himself off the toilet by himself. He is still figuring his life out. He's able to chew his food now by himself. He doesn't have to have it like minced or blended by his mum. So that's good. And but you kind of, before we started recording, I won't steal your thunder, but you made a pretty interesting point, not with regards to Kimi, but with regards to Max.
Yeah, Max is just... It wasn't a weird response at all. It was a perfectly human and genuine response. I just find Max Verstappen's response to the Kimi incident interesting in that he was very gracious and he went over and straight away they had a chat on the gravel and they were basically debriefed. They were doing a cool down room on the gravel on the track, and he seemed to hang around. He wanted Kimi to get out of the car. Like he stood there for a second. He just walk off. We sort of waited for him to get out of the car to walk away with him. And that's very cute. And Max is a dad now. Maybe that was his paternal instincts, kicking in for this child in the other car. Did Verstappen's reaction kind of make it seem like he's given up, though? Or certainly, give up's a strong word. Given up on the championship, I would say. Because I can't help but feel that if it was anyone but Kimi, or he was maybe 5 or 10 points closer, or maybe the cars weren't quite so separate, I just can't help but feel like there's got to be some Verstappen red mist there. And this was absolute beige mist. This was a clear sunny day. There was no mist to be had. He just sort of... And his his post-race media as well, he was very chirpy almost. Quite casual and, candid and just like, oh, look, can happen. It's a mistake. It's a shame. And I just think, if we go back to 2021 Verstappen and that same crash happens from any other driver, I'm not sure we see the same response out of Max. I can't help but feel that he's he's not trying to piss off his new employers. There's also that.
Could be that. Or his new teammate. I think social media pages, are kind of clutching for a headline if that's the angle that they want to look at it. I think your original point was actually very good in does it give you an air of, has he just given up? And if you look at the numbers now, and certainly after that Austrian Grand Prix, you'd say the likelihood of him going on to do anything kind of impressive this year or successful or anything like that, or get a 5th world title, is getting down towards single figures, maybe even less than 1 now, with the lead of which the both McLarens, in particular Oscar, have got for him. He also gave, and I don't know whether you noticed this, but in qualifying, he gave the new potential preferred driver of the Lap Down podcast, Gabriel Bortoleto, a bit of a tow down the start-finish straight as well. So... yeah, I don't know. But I think to use the word bipolar, I think would be unkind and it would be unfair. But I think the reactions are remarkably inconsistent for Max. And I think on any other day, I think he could just, for anybody, get out and just lamp the bloke, regardless of who it is, regardless of what the scenario is. But yeah, I think there's merit in has he kind of just parked 2025 and just assessing his options, figuring out what he wants to do, realizes that there's not much point going around creating enemies with people he doesn't need to create enemies with. And yeah, Kimi fucked up. That was the end of it. It wasn't an assassination. It wasn't anything more than that. He just got it wrong. And it would be a complete irrational reaction if it had been anything more than just don't worry about it, mate. We've all been there.
Yeah, and given up may well be a slightly harsh phrasing of it. I just think it's the easiest phrasing. He might have just sort of mentally moved on from 25 and looking ahead to...
The way they kind of describe it with employment is almost like soft resignation, if that makes sense.
He's quiet quitting. Yeah,
it's kind of like
Max Verstappen's quiet quitting this year. 100%.
Genuinely, it feels like that, doesn't it? It's like, well, I'll do what I have to do, but I'm not going above and beyond because you've pissed me off too much this year.
What time do you need me to be there for quali? Oh, 2. Okay, see you at 1:59, and I will be in my gears. And guess what? I'm shitting when I get there. I'm not shitting at home. So, yeah. No, I think it was all handled quite well. It was handled quite well by everyone, I think. Williams, we won't talk too much about this, but lads, come on, Williams. It was going so well. We all had our little flags out, and now the car doesn't work anymore, and then it catches on fire really quite aggressively. I'm just going to point that out. Carlos, get out of the car. It's on fire. Right? You're not racing. Get out. It's on fire. Both sides at once. Quite large. Get out. Yeah. What are you doing?
Not the greatest day. Wasn't it like Albon's third retirement in a row as well, I think? And what started off really well with Uncle James Vowles kind of telling us all the nice, warm, fuzzy things that we needed throughout the course of the 2025 season. But 2025 doesn't count, Alex. You cannot forget that. We've been told that all the way through. 25 doesn't mean shit for Williams. James Vowles has used those that's a direct quote from the big boss at the Williams Formula One team. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Alex has had a good start to the season and the fact that the car won't do more than 3 laps before it gives up, and the fact that Carlos Sainz's car got a little bit too spicy in the pit lane and just decided to spontaneously combust. It doesn't matter, because 2026, we're getting rid of Papaya and we're going for that Duracell battery on the top of the car going around. They're going to be doing their little races together and it's going to be good. So don't worry about it. It's fine. 25 doesn't matter.
They do need to be a little bit careful, though.
25 doesn't matter, Alex. I don't know. I don't understand at what point of that you don't understand.
It matters for money, and they need to be a little bit careful because that midfield pack is getting very tasty.
Doesn't matter.
Because we've now got... There are less than 30 points separating 5th and 9th. Now, admittedly, 30 points when you're talking, picking up 2, 3, 4 points a weekend is still a decent split. But Williams in 5th, 55, Racing Bulls 36, Haas 29, Aston Martin 28, Kick Sauber 26, and then also Alpina apparently in it. So they've got to be a little bit careful that they've got themselves out there early doors. They've got themselves into good financial position. I don't know the breakdown of money here, but they absolutely do need it. They don't have that much money, Dan. So they need to just be... I know they're not doing it deliberately, and it's not as if they squandered this as bad strategy or whatever, but if I'm Williams, I'm just starting to feel a little bit less comfortable all of a sudden about what seemed like a very locked-in P5. You've got to... if we've got bloody Liam Lawson now sticking it in like P5s and 6s, we've got to be very careful that we're Williams, that we're getting the money we need at the end of the year to actually do something with 26.
All that money is there for is going to depend on how many bottles of champagne they have at the end of season party in 2026 after they've done the double. That's it. That's all that matters. That's all we've been told.
They can't do 26 without the money from 25.
Of course they can, because 25 doesn't matter. I don't understand. Like, you seem to be completely missing this point.
No, I'm hearing your point. I'm not agreeing with your point.
You've got excited about the fact that Williams have done quite well over the start of this season. And you've got a bit carried away, and we've got carried away because we've been going, oh, maybe actually we don't have to wait for 26, but we do. We do. James Faust said it. He said it himself. He was quoted, direct quote, 25 doesn't mean shit. I've translated it from English to Australian for you as well, and funnily enough, it's the same. And I'm struggling to see how you're kind of messing this up. But
Going to move on.
It's 26 is the year. 25 doesn't matter.
I'm going to move on. You're irritating me now with your 26 bollocks.
Good.
They won't have any money to finish the year if they don't finish in P5.
Doesn't matter.
You can't win it if you were P6 the year before. That's not how it works. Right. Drone camera. It was there. I got very excited. They showed it to me once. It was over turn 3. It's everything I wanted it to be. They never showed it to me again. Why?
Nothing to add. Maybe we're going to get more of it in 2026.
Battery life.
Could be
Battery
that.
life.
SD cards.
And what I will say, and I can't remember your name, and apologies if you listen back to this, because I will shout you out, but I'm shouting you out without your name. It was pointed out in the YouTube comments that we are now the People's Podcast for drone cam appreciation, and that's what people come to this podcast for. So it was previously Deep Engineering Insight, and then it was Race Director and Stewardship. Then it was Colapinto for a bit, but he's now garbage, and now it's just drone stuff.
I thought we started on paint.
We did start on paint.
Yeah.
Paint, engineering, stewarding, Colapinto, drone is the progression of the Lapdown podcast over the last 2 years. But yeah, it looked brilliant the one time I saw it, and then we didn't see it again.
Because it is good. It is good. And we did, to be fair, we did say with it, we did say less is more. But once is not enough.
Yes.
That's not what we meant, Formula One. We know that you're watching because we are the source of all drone conversation when it comes to Formula One TV directorship. We understand that, and we realise we're aware of the magnitude and the severity of that title we have got ourselves and the responsibility that then carries. So, but we want more of it.
Yeah.
We need more of it. I've just had a little bit of a thought, which has got me a little bit excited downstairs. How about drone cam, maggots, Beckett's? That's going to be good. You can't. That's going to be, just put it there the entire race, because that's going to look good.
Why was it not over turn 3 for lap 1? Is my question. That if there was going to be a time in this race where that was going to look its absolute best, surely it's when all 20 of them are going like arse to tip through that corner. And we could have seen an Antonelli, cruise missile vertically. It's not the first time we've questioned F1 TV direction, and it won't be the last, but you've got a good thing, lads. Don't ruin it.
You'd think that would be a non-negotiable for a replay option, wouldn't you? And I realise you might not have more than one drone, so maybe that was stationed somewhere else, but I dare say with the budgets that they've got, they could have had a drone over turn 1 and a drone over turn 3.
Or if you're going to pick one of the two, lap 1, surely.
But it would be lap 1, turn 1.
Yeah.
Which is where everything happens. Apart from in Austria, where it's lap 1, turn 3.
Yeah.
Although technically, is it actually turn 3? Because there's that little kind of slight kind of swerve to the left actually count?
That's a turn.
Is it?
That's a corner.
Is it? Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's a corner on that straight. Famously where all the corners are.
Right, what's next?
Should we talk about Yuki? Yuki-san, oh dear. And that's I think that's about where I get to it, is Yuki, oh dear.
Yeah.
Where do we pick it apart?
Well, at the end of the day, he was given the poison chalice.
Yes. Guess what? There was poison in it.
Exactly. He was restrained forcibly against his will and was essentially had to consume the contents of this poison chalice. And it's basically done for him as it has everybody else that's tried to sit and drink from that same poison chalice. It's just the fact that I think Yuki at the time probably knew the fact it was poisoned, whereas everybody else has kind of skipped jollily into the back offices at Milton Keynes and kind of supped from the chalice of poison.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it didn't start well in quali. I mean, a P18 without a real apparent reason why it was a P18. He didn't miss a run. It wasn't, a lap time delete or whatever. That just felt a little bit like a raw pace P18. Yep. Struggle Town. That's already Struggle Town. I couldn't help but feel like it's a sloppy move that he's made on Colapinto down the inside there that's got him that penalty, which at that point he just, was completely done. But
yeah,
it was a little bit shades of Perez for me towards the end. Like, it was a desperate move of a desperate driver that wanted to pull off moves and at least gain some positions. And had he have gone from a P18 to a P11 or maybe scraped a point, people would go, you know what, that's actually really quite a good recovery drive. But that move just, we saw it with like Perez in Monaco and, just lunges that don't actually exist. Mirages of safety in that desert. I think it just says a lot about probably where his head is at with it.
I think he's done. And I think he has been for a while. I still don't think, like we spoke about at the start, I still don't think Red Bull do anything. I don't think they swap him out. I don't think he leaves. I think he is there and will be there until the end of the season, because what options have they got genuinely without making them look, well, kind of clown-like? What options have they actually got? I think he's there. I think he's there till the end of the year. I don't think they sack him. I don't think they move on. I think it's probably a case genuinely for Red Bull of head down and try and make sure that Max Verstappen puts pen to paper or at least stays in Milton Keynes for 2026 and beyond is probably their biggest and most important thing for them for the remainder of the season.
So Yuki's out of contract at the end of the year, and I think we're all agreed that he won't be in an energy drink-based car next year regardless.
You'd be surprised, wouldn't you? You would be surprised.
I can't see him going back to a V-carb.
No, because there'll be another 7-year-old that will be kind of there, won't they, ready to go? It was very upsetting for me with Mr. Tsunoda at the end of the race. If you watch his onboard through his cool-down lap, he apologizes on the radio, and then he gets told by his race agent, you need to pick up rubber. Now, I'm not a sports psychologist, and I'm not suggesting that Yuki needed sort of a radio hug at that point or whatever. There's a bit of man management to be done, surely. Like, the race engineer and driver relationship is meant to be a close, brotherly, fatherly son type, coach to player relationship. Yeah. And it just felt that he was left a little bit, and this is a bit soft and whatever, and I'm sure there'll be people in comments or whatever that go, oh, grow up, they're adults and it's sport and whatever. It's going to be like the Hajar thing all over again. But in that moment, surely, even if it's bullshit, you need to be on the radio to your driver who's just apologized to you for a bad race where actually it was just kind of everything stacked onto itself. Just say, give him some level of comforting words. Don't tell him to pick up rubber and then let him do the rest of the lap in silence. Like, who's that helping? And then he's pulled into the garage and he's sat there for, it cuts out the feed, but he sits there for 20 plus seconds in stationary silence before he gets out of the car in Parc Ferme. Where does he go, though?
What, in terms of...
Yeah, at the end of this contract, where does he go?
Oh.
What's his options? It is sad.
I don't know. I hadn't got onto that bit. I was just talking about that race weekend, that he was just... I don't know where he goes next year. We've had an email in from our friends in Canada, from Ryan and Jamie, and they have pondered whether there could be a seated Alpine for Yuki next year, or whether if Cadillac should be looking at a Mr. Tsunoda for next year, and if you went a Tsunoda-Perez, Tsunoda-Bottas partnership, which
Cadillac's
I don't
interesting.
hate. I don't hate it.
Cadillac is interesting, and I don't know whether you've seen this, and you might not have done, but they posted up something 4th of June. The most recent post, kind of 2 American icons, one vision, a bold new era for American motorsport. It's been liked by 274,000 people.
It's a few people.
I think the only people that are Formula One drivers that have liked it are Mick Schumacher and Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you can... I don't know.
I'm not reading into it.
Have they given that away?
No.
Is it going to be a Valtteri and Mick Schumacher?
I think Valtteri's going to be in there because I think the level of shitposting we saw last week from Valtteri in that, like, oh look, there's a Cadillac. Oh look, the seat's available in that Cadillac. Should I try sitting in it? Like, he's a shitposter, but I don't think he's that level of shitposter if that wasn't something, because that would then actually, I think, reflect badly on that. That would be him mocking himself at that point rather than shitposting
Yeah.
He's mocking us to an extent there with something he knows that we don't know. That I think would be mocking himself. I hadn't pondered a Yuki to Cadillac, and I don't mind a Yuki to Cadillac. Because actually, if you think new team, racecraft, race experience, potential, and how many years they've got left in them, Yuki and Bottas, it shapes up nicely, and it means you're not putting a rookie in a rookie team, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you get more cash with Schumacher, though?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think Nick's done.
See, the thing is, I think he possibly should be done, but I don't necessarily know if I believe the fact that he is actually done. I don't know whether the powers that be are going to be okay to let that kind of Schumacher name walk away. And the other thing as well that kind of throws a little spanner in the works, I'm pretty sure he's driving for Alpine in the current kind of whatever the endurance WEC stuff. So, I mean, that's another little spanner in the works. Not spanner, but kind of an option. And I guess Alpine would stick with Gasly. But then it does feel like, and respectfully to all our Argentinian fans and followers, and obviously the Lord and Saviour Franco Colapinto, who is the preferred driver of the Lap Down podcast at the moment, he's not really done it, has he?
No, and that is the other half of Ryan and Jamie's email. And if you'd like to send us an email, you can, lapdownpod@gmail.com. Ryan and or Jamie have been quite scathing in their appraisal. And
Are
said,
they really fans of this podcast? They'd have known that would have triggered us, wouldn't they? They wouldn't have just kind of like tuned into a Lance Stroll bashing and then suddenly kind of completely missed all of the Franco Colapinto glazing that we've been doing over the last 12 months.
It is all accurate, though, and it is hard to disagree with everything they've said, because they've said Colapinto likely ruined what could have been an exciting finish of the race by forcing Oscar off track and adding a second to Oscar's deficit to Lando. So I'll pause there, and I'll ask you, if Franco Colapinto doesn't put Oscar Piastri on the grass, does Lando Norris still win the Austrian Grand Prix?
I think so, yeah.
But just not by as much?
Yeah, I think so.
Because how many laps were there to go when that happened? 10?
I think it was... No, wasn't it? Kind of the dying embers, wasn't it?
Well, 10 is dying-ish embers. Maybe not dead embers.
To be fair, 16 was dying embers for the Austrian Grand Prix, but...
Interesting. Because it was... Because obviously Lando had only just gone through them. Interesting. I've got something else to discuss on that whole situation in a second anyway, but we'll finish this off. They've described it as a bonehead move as a back marker being lapped. Colapinto has no pace and has a crash-happy history, and I don't see him in a seat next year. I won't use some of your language, Ryan and or Jamie. I will agree, though, that at the minute, if things continue as they are, don't think I see Colapinto in a seat next year.
Yeah, I think so. And that means we're just going to have... Most importantly, that does mean we're going to have to find a new preferred driver of the Lap Down podcast, which is disappointing, really, isn't it? Because, I mean, we've stuck by him through thin and thin, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, the MILF stuff was sort of the thick, I think.
Yeah, well, certainly in every sense of the word,
Double
C. Tell me about it. I know it's hot in the UK at the minute, but gee whiz, that's just got a little bit spicy again. No, I think he's struggling. But what was he going to do? Like, in a car that was dog shit, what actually was he going to do?
I keep your nose clean, I think.
Yeah.
Is probably... I mean, if we put crash happy aside, I think you need to... Gasly at the minute in that Alpine is absolutely forgettable. But that's probably him doing himself a good service. Like, he's... I don't know where he finished this weekend. But
13th, one lap down.
Great. You know what? In that Alpine, good job. Like, you've kept your nose clean, you've driven the 71 laps or whatever it is, and you've done it with quiet dignity. And Colapinto's come home in 15th, right? So it's 13th and 15th in the running order. And you could argue that is Franco keeping his nose clean, but just do it in an uneventful way, I think is all he really needs to do. Because Alpine will know what position that car could have finished in. And they may well actually be really happy with 13th. That might have maxed out where their simulations said they could get to. Just get there in the cleanest way possible, I think is all he needs to do for the time being.
Yeah, but Flavio Briatore is a head case and possibly thinks they should be finishing third and fourth.
Yeah, I mean, by all accounts, Flavio now wants Bottas in there for the rest of the year, which it would be a turn of events I don't think any of us saw coming. I'm not sure I can see it actually happening, particularly if if Bottas does that, Bottas is obviously not going to Cadillac next year. So that would answer two questions at once. And I think if Bottas hasn't signed yet, it would endanger that.
If Bottas just did the rest of the season as a loan from Mercedes, would that damage his opportunities to go and drive and sign like a 2 or 3 year contract with Cadillac in 26?
I reckon.
Do you think?
I reckon. Because I think if I want Valtteri Bottas, I want him all in for me now. Yeah. If I've got your pen on paper, even if we haven't announced it, I want to be able to be talking to you about what we're doing next year. I want to be able to show you things. I want you at our secret factory and our simulator, and I want you driving in next year's car and the machines and whatever. I want someone that's all in, and that may well be why we never see Mick Schumacher at race weekends, because he might be doing that at the minute. But I think I see that as a distraction if I'm Cadillac, that if he's going to go and do that, okay, you're obviously not that bored into us because you're just taking a seat wherever you can take it. But I'm also not sure if they would do it. Some of the rumors are that because obviously next year Alpine are going to be a Mercedes power unit, it's an easy reserve driver offer up, and Mercedes may well be happy with that. But yeah, I don't. Is that in Valtteri's best interest? Valtteri can't put his stock price up in an Alpine, I don't think.
He can't, but it keeps his hand warm, which is something that he's not doing at the moment. And I don't know how important. I genuinely don't know how important that is. I couldn't possibly tell you as to how big of an impact 12 months out of Formula One could have when you try and go again in 26. I don't know, but he would get to drive cars quite quickly, which potentially would then keep everything a bit sharper and a bit warmer for him for when he does then go and jump in a Cadillac at the start of 26. And potentially, I'm sure there would be some clause in the contract that would be along the lines of, don't tell anybody about what we're doing because this is top secret shit. And if you tell them, we're going to be really mad with you. And I don't think he would do that. And to be fair, I don't think Alpine are going to lose any secrets if they bring him in, because I don't think Alpine have a secret to keep other than the fact that, well, if you want to figure out how to finish 16th and 17th in a Grand Prix, then probably your guys. But really and truly, I don't know. I completely see and can agree with your points, but equally, if it does happen, I can't see it really damaging anybody if they did go down that route.
Yeah, and then my last point, which is it's probably very late to be bringing up a contentious issue, but it's on blue flags. And I know blue flags are contentious at the best of times, and there are a decent chunk of the F1 community that think we shouldn't have blue flags, and that if you're good enough to get past, you should just be good enough to get past again and just let them race type business. I don't agree with that. You've already been good enough. You've got past them once and then driven another 2.6 miles around to come back up on them again. Get out of the way. Do we need to change the way blue flags work? In that, do we need to make everyone's life easier? And do we need to basically make them a one sector virtual safety car for the cars that are being overlapped? Because the incident we saw on the weekend is because you've got two cars that are fighting each other nose to tail for position, and then all of a sudden you've got a leading car coming through. If a car is getting blue flagged, should they be neutralized from overtaking in the sector? Not the lap. I think the lap goes too far, because if you got overtaken into turn one or whatever. But for that sector, should you have to maintain line of stern and not be overtaking? And would that help prevent, because we have seen that a couple of times this year, lapped cars having an impact on a charge down for the lead or whatever. Do we need to offer the drivers, take it out of the drivers' hands and take the honesty system out of it more there and make it a black and white system? Maybe.
But then we'd have to have new guidelines with regards to penalties, and we've only just had the old one, so I don't know how long that would take. Yes, there's logic to it. It feels quite helicopter parenting type setup. Is almost a case of, as you say, take it out of their hands, and you won't really ever let your child go run around in the woods or cycle around and then come back with a broken wrist because they've fallen off and crashed into a tree stump, because mummy's only going to be just around the corner. No, don't go too fast. Careful going down. Don't forget to use your brakes. Have you got your helmet on? Where's your knee pads? Are your trainers secured tightly into your pedals? is everything perfect? By which point the sun's gone down and it's time to go home, and you're not actually allowed to go down the steep hill. So, but yes, probably because it feels like it makes it fairer for everybody. You wouldn't then run the risk of having a lapped car getting in the way of a potential championship battle at the end of a season because they're mates with somebody else and not mates with the other person, or they used to drive for this team and not that team. And it would neutralize it. It would make it sterile. And really and truly, do you need any spice and kind of fun if you're overtaking cars that you've already lapped once, if not twice, if not 3 times, which was the case in Monaco?
And that's always been my answer to they should just be good enough to get past, we don't need to just wave them past argument, is they've earned the right. They've done that job once already. They are already ahead of them, and they are ahead of them by a minute and a bit at that point. That the car shouldn't be there, really. If I know that's not how actual Formula 1 works, and it's tricky on a 1 minute and 3 second lap or whatever it is at Austria. There's always going to be spread. But there's not meant to be a car there. That car's meant to be 30 seconds behind in a 1 minute 20 lap. So the fact that you're coming up against it, it shouldn't be a deciding factor. I think I agree with you that it probably didn't cost Oscar a win, but it probably cost us as fans a slightly more entertaining. Yeah. It ended the race, didn't it? Realistically, at that point, as soon as he went 2 wheels on the grass, let alone nearly all 4 wheels on the grass, it was like, okay, sweet. Well, guess what, Lando? Well done. There's 25 points.
And I realise the Colapinto thing's an extreme element to it. But generally speaking, is it one of those things that you feel at the end of the season has just balanced itself out? Is it one of those things that you genuinely just think, oh, okay, well, I lost a couple of seconds here. They lost a couple of seconds there. I've lost a couple of seconds this week and next week. They've then lost double that the week afterwards. Could it be like quantified as one of those examples that kind of you get enough of the shit to go with the good, and actually it does just even itself out over the course of because it's 24 races. There's a lot of miles that are completed there. Yeah,
I think my only back to that would be it doesn't take much for Oscar to end up in a barrier there. Yeah. Like 4 wheels on grass is very easily without driver error. I mean, do you remember Danny Rick's first race, I think, maybe for Renault? Or it might have been the first race of his second season at Renault, where at the start he just got pushed half onto the grass in Australia, and there was like a bump because there was an access road or something, and it ripped his front wing off. And he was probably 12 inches to the right off the edge of the track, but it just happened to be a really unfortunate bump at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And it went. It doesn't feel that far-fetched that Oscar's front wing could have come ripped off there through no fault of his own. And at that point, you can't make up the 1 and 2 seconds agreement. I absolutely agree with, in terms of like, if you come across traffic at the wrong time, you're a little bit slower on this lap. Yeah, not impactful. It's just those battles. But
no, I agree.
You can't make a rule for every situation either. So I'm purely hypothesizing for the sake of my own entertainment. Right. Should we quickly box off the scores? I think I've done all right. Did Fernando get points? Fernando got points.
Yeah. No, it was an okay but a quiet weekend. I mean, you scored with the driver you thought you were going to score with. You got 10 points from George Russell. Stroll, would you believe, didn't score you any points, which I don't know. Are you shocked by that? I'd be shocked by that. Oh, well, we move. Albon obviously just couldn't be bothered to finish the Grand Prix again, and Alonso picked up 6 points. So, yeah, you've just extended your lead by 4 points. So the difference now is 29 points in your favour. You have ticked over 150 or 151 red, and I'm currently sat on 122. But there is a lot of Formula One Grand Prix racing to go, isn't there? And it's not that inconceivable to get kind of we've had a lot of non-scorers. Non-scoring weekends we've had a lot of. I'm still in it.
Yes. It was pointed out as well in a YouTube comment that we have spun the wheel 44 times now, and we have yet to have a Charles Leclerc on either team.
Really?
And it's just, I know this is how random probabilities work, that it's random and there's no guarantee that any of them will come up, but neither of us have had a Charles Leclerc so far this year.
I'd like a Charles Leclerc.
I'll take a Charles Leclerc.
Yeah.
We'll both have him next week. Why not?
All right. Done.
In the meantime,
Book him in.
Lapdown Pod on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. And you can go and follow Dan Jads and his cricketing adventures where...
At Dan Jads. You've kind of done that already for me, but
yeah,
I appreciate it.
It's the handy thing about it just all being...
I appreciate it.
Just all
hey,
being
have you built that Lego McLaren on Twitch yet?
No. There's too many roads that need crafting at the minute. But if you want to come and see me do that, twitch.tv/hey look, it's Alex. Leave us a review, share it with someone. And like I said before, lapdownpod@gmail.com. If you would like to be Ryan and Jamie from Canada and send us your thoughts, just don't say bad things about Franco Colapinto because he's the preferred driver for the Lapdown podcast. That's all from us this week. We will be here. We've got a double bubble. We've got Silverstone coming up. So we will be back later in this week to preview Silverstone. In the meantime, have a wonderful couple of days, everybody.
Let's go.